Yeah, looking at the high school preseason questionnaire, we just sent that out. I don't know what was that last week or the week before, maybe to high school coaches around the state. But we actually got a lot of responses back already, which is awesome to see. It's super helpful for us. But I'll kind of open it up to you guys. Like Drew, I don't know if you have anything that you want to mention on the high school preseason questionnaire, but
Yeah, a
all you.
couple things. It's early for us to be sending it out, but I think kind of like the earlier the better. We can start to work through some of those responses, and it's there's a lot of benefits to it. First, just finding out about how a team's going to be, who they lost from the previous year. So, listing all the 2024 grads that are no longer there, how many returners they have back, their confidence level on their team this year. We had them grade out, how good do they think they're going to be from a 1 to 5 scale. And then top arms coming back, top juniors, top seniors, top players that maybe they face in their conference. We give them an opportunity to let us know, like, hey, what can we do better from our coverage standpoint? Um, and really, it goes into all of our preseason Power 25 rankings. We don't. Yes, there is knowledge that we have, that we see in tournaments and from last spring and things that we can maybe, evaluate a program, with our own eyes. But when it comes to actually ranking the Power 25 and, who's going to get in, who's going to miss out or be just on the, just miss the cut, like we use all of this info that the coaches give us. Because there's a number of times I got burned in the past where we would maybe see a guy at a tournament or at a showcase and they would list themselves as a certain high school. So when the preseason preview came out and we're looking at a team, I knew I saw this guy, but the coach didn't mention him on the preview, and we put him in, in our evaluation of the program. Yet that player wasn't playing high school baseball for one reason or another. So it has burned me in the past to where now it is we strictly are going off of the info that these high school coaches are giving us. Some are way more detailed than others, and for those high school coaches that do put in all that information, like that is gold to us. So like I can't thank you guys enough, coaches out there, and just the amount of people that have already coaches that have already submitted a questionnaire has been. It's always it's always a breath of fresh air when you see all those come in. You got high school coaches that are locked in. I want to say we sent out that email on Thursday, and by Friday we had like 30 responses. So, shout out to Eric Regis at Hersher, first one to get it in. Right behind him was Kevin Sefcik at Marist. So just speaking to two guys that were locked in and all over their clubs, and had all the information at the ready. So thank you to those coaches and everybody else who got it in. I saw Mark Smith at Providence got his in, returning 4A state champs, and briefly looking through the submission, like that's a program that's going to be hard not to be number one next year. They bring back basically everybody. I know they lose a really good player in Jackson Smith going to Bradley. Um, but Gav, I hope that's just a little introduction to it. We'll get into
Yeah,
more of the high school preseason questionnaire as we get closer to doing the Power 25 rankings in February, in early March, as we're getting through all of our winter season, because that's another thing too is yes, it's great to get this info in from the high school coaches right now, and we're gathering all that, and we're making little cheat sheets or rough drafts of like, hey, this team could be a top 10 team, team could be a top 20 team. But we're also then going to let the winner play out, see all these guys in showcases. Like there may be an arm for Manuka Zane Caves, who was 82 84 last spring or last summer, but now all of a sudden we see him at an event in the winter and he's 86 to 90, and it's like, okay, that's a bona fide ace or whatever it may be, whatever the case may be. So um, it pumps me up, like just to think that the spring is not that far away, especially as we're kind of entering winter here in Illinois and Chicago, and um, it's right around the corner. And at least for me, like high school baseball is probably my favorite time of the year. So I don't know if you guys have anything else
yeah.
to add on that, but that's what I've got, Gav.
No, it's a ton of fun. The high school season's always a lot of fun. Just seeing those matchups, the rivalries, seeing the kids that we see in tournaments at showcases come back to their high school team. It's always a lot of fun. But one thing that I really wanted to mention was at this year's IHSA or IHS BCA conference or convention. we are wanting to do and planning on doing some like short 10, 15-minute podcasts with some of those high school coaches. And I think we've talked about sending out like a form to coaches sometime before that to kind of have like a sign-up sheet and, talk through their teams and stuff, and kind of just have like a podcast form of our preview stories for these high school teams. So that'll be kind of fun, and I'm excited for that. But
Yeah, well, just to provide a little more color on that, like for any coaches that have come to that convention before, we always have a booth. There is a vendor area for all coaches to come. We will have our normal booth, and we still have to talk through exactly how we want to set this up. Um, because during typical, like, hey, you have your 20-minute break here from all the speakers, all these high school coaches tend to circulate in that vendor room. It can get really loud. So figuring out when we want to do it, I think having a little, 10-minute increments to where they can get in, coaches can get, give some love to their players, their program, get it on video. I think it'd be great content for these coaches to talk about their players. So, how we go about sending out a timesheet, or when to sign up, we'll have to figure all that out. But just, hey, coaches out there, if you are planning on coming to that convention, like, start to think about your 2025 roster. Who your arms are going to be, young guys to look out for, who's impressing, and we would love to talk to you at the convention. Whether you guys think you're going to win 10 games this spring or 40 games this spring, like, if there are players on your team that you want to talk about, or matchups or your area or whatever it is, utilize that, because I think it could be really cool, something that, maybe we can build off of too.